Hello, my creepy poples. Welcome to Creepy Corners. I feel like I have to yell because the camera's so far away. I'm trying something new today. I'm sitting at my breakfast table. I've got a grilled cheese, which started out as cheese toast, but changed as I made it. I have messiness all around me. I wrote down a few things to talk to you guys about, and hopefully I don't sound too crazy, but I'm not a loud talker to begin with, so this is weird for me to try to project. I got my my skull coffee mug, but anyway, I made a list of some things I wanted to tell you since I've moved in. Wanted to tell you about some of the stuff that's happened. First thing that happened was on Friday I was supposed to get my internet and cable installed, and the guy came out and found that there wasn't an internet connection outside leading to the house, so he had to call out a different tech, and they had to come out on Saturday and install this line. And then I was supposed to reschedule my cable installation, and so the only appointments they had were for today, which actually I'm working from home today, so it would have turned out okay, but before this I didn't realize I'd be working from home. I'll tell you why I'm working from home in just a minute. So I was looking for when I could schedule the installation, and the next available one that wasn't in the middle of the day where I'd have to either work from home or take a day off was on this Saturday coming up. So I start looking around and I find this other service provider, and so I think, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a shot. I'm gonna call them and talk to them. And so I did. I called them and I talked to them, and they have a cable. They have 100 megabits per second for internet, and it's, I think she said it was $50 a month, something like that. So I'm gonna just do that and not get TV, because honestly, I mean, I can watch most of my stuff on the internet anyway. So anyway, so there was that. So that was the first. Oh, and it was so weird because he was here. The guy that came was here, and I saw him walking around at back. I was on a meeting, and the next thing I know, he's gone. I mean, his truck's gone. He's gone. Everything's gone. And I called him and I said, "Where are you?" And anyway, he told me that. All right. So next thing was, and I'm trying to do these in order. So on Saturday, because I didn't have cable and because I was tired of unpacking and trying to figure out what I could put up and what I couldn't based on what I'm gonna paint and, you know, all that stuff, I kind of got bored, and I've been wanting this one tattoo for a really long time, and I've had it actually as my background on my phone, and because, you know, I kind of like to look at it and make sure that that's the one I want to get, because you can see I have a few. But anyway, it's here, and I'll put up a picture. If you follow me on Instagram, or if, you know, then you could see, you have already seen it. But anyway, it's the little guy from the Bugs Bunny cartoon where he goes to Dracula's castle, and when Bugs Bunny says abracadabra or any sort of variation of that, the Dracula turns into this bat, which is funny to me, and I can remember watching that from when I was a kid. So that was the tattoo. So that morning, so I'm kind of doing that part in reverse order. So Saturday morning, I got woken up at about 5:30 by Onyx howling, I guess is a word to say. I don't know how else to describe it, but he was meowing really loud and he was pulling out his face. And I knew something was up, and he couldn't close his mouth, and so of course I put him in the cat carrier and found an emergency vet here, and we went to the emergency vet, and his whole chest and everything was just soaking from where he'd been trying to drink water, or from where he was drooling, or both, because he couldn't close his mouth. So they took a look at him, but before the doctor saw him, I looked right at his face, and you could tell that one tooth, you know how the kitties have their fangs, the top ones and then the bottom little fangs. His one fang was over behind, or on the other side of the bottom fang, so it was keeping him from being able to close his mouth. And so the doctor saw him and basically told me that that's what was going on, and gave me antibiotics for him, and said that the tooth needed to be pulled, but that they didn't have the equipment there to do it. So gave me antibiotics for him, gave me painkillers for him, and I went home and was calling these different vets, seeing who could do it that day on Saturday, because he was obviously in pain, and he couldn't eat. I mean, he could eat. He'll find a way to eat. He loves food, but anyway, he couldn't keep stuff in his mouth. It would fall out like water and whatever. And plus, he was hurting. I mean, and he's diabetic, and so there's that whole thing. So he's got to eat in order to get a shot. And he's got to have a shot to not have diabetic issues. So anyway, so I called like 3 or 4 vets and asked them if they could do it that day, and they said, well, it's where he's going to have to be sedated, and because he's diabetic, that causes other problems, and on and on. So the first one I had called, they had an appointment for him at noon. So I took him to that. The doctor was super sweet. He looked at him. He said, oh yeah. He said, that's 100% impeding his ability to close his mouth. He said, let's go ahead and take it out now. And I literally teared up at that moment, because I'm like, thank you so much. I mean, I didn't want Onyx to be in pain the whole weekend, and even into next week if there was some sort of weird, well, this week I guess, if there was some sort of weird appointment thing that we needed to do. So anyway, so the doctor took his tooth out, and again, if you follow me on Instagram, I posted a picture of his fang, and I'll show you a picture here too. Alright, so that was Onyx. It's the Onyx saga. Next up was, so I have to take a different train. I think I told you guys that in my last video, to get to work, because I live in the suburbs and I work downtown, and it's about 25 miles to my workplace. So it's Chicago, and I really don't want to drive. I mean, you can imagine it's trafficy and stuff. So, so I take the train, and on Monday, well, obviously today's Wednesday. I guess it's not obvious. I don't always post the video that I do. Anyway, whatever. So, so Monday was fine. I show up at the train station. I park my car. I got to figure out the cash thing. That's the other thing. It's a cash-only cash box, which makes sense, right? Because it's a cash box. But so I got to figure out that situation, because I didn't come prepared, so I'm digging for quarters. It's $1.25, so I'm digging for quarters. So find my quarters, go get on the train, get there early, get to work early, everything's great. Leave that afternoon, get back home, takes about 30 minutes. It's great. Okay, so Tuesday comes along, and because I had such an easy experience on Monday, I thought, well, I'll be fine Tuesday to maybe show up a little bit later to the parking lot, to take the little bit later train because it's an express train still, and it only takes 30 minutes to get there. Well, I show up and I'm there at like 7:30, so 15 minutes later, and there is not a single parking space, not one parking space at the station that's close to me. So I have to drive to a totally separate station that's probably, I don't know, 5 miles away-ish, something like that. And by the time I get there and get a parking spot and put the money in the thing, the next train is 30 minutes from then, and it's not an express train anymore. At this point, it's just the normal train, so it takes like an hour because of all the stops along the way to get to downtown. So yesterday I got to work at 10 a.m., which I don't, if I'm going to be there, I want to be there by 9:30 at the latest, but I'd like to be there a little bit earlier so I can leave earlier. So that was the train saga. And I'm updating my boss. I'm saying, I'm on my way. It's taking forever. They're stopping at every 50 feet. I mean, it really did feel that way. Checking my notes. All right, got that. Okay. So then, the other thing is, I've been seeing these little black ants around. There's not a lot of them. There's not a trail of them. They're just like random amount of black ants. So I went to the hardware store last night to get some stuff to help get rid of them. And I also got a flag for my mailbox because my mailbox doesn't have a flag on it. So I go by Ace Hardware, I get that stuff, and then come back here, and there's a sump pump in the basement. And if you're not familiar with what a sump pump is, I think of it as like a giant toilet for the house, like a giant house toilet. So it's this hole in the floor and in the basement, and it collects water, and then when it gets to a certain point, it's like it flushes the water out. Where it goes, I don't know. I assume out there somewhere. Oh, I just realized I have a giant hole right here. Anyway, so excuse me. So that's what a sump pump is. I didn't know it really. I mean, I've heard of them before, but I didn't really know exactly what its purpose was and all that when I first saw that it was here. So I looked it up and stuff just to see what it did. But the reason I looked it up too, and the reason it stood out to me, is because the very minute that I walked in the door when I moved in this house, it was beeping. There was an alarm on the sump pump beeping. And I went down the stairs to look and see what was happening, and it said there's 5 different lights, and each one has a little something beside it that says what's wrong. Well, this particular one said that the problem was that the connections were corroded or something like that. Well, it says if you press this one button for 1 second, it'll dismiss the alarm. And if you press it for 5 seconds, it'll dismiss it for 24 hours. Which is great, right? Because when I'm moving in, I'm thinking, I don't have time to deal with this right now. I needed to shut up so I can get stuff done around here. Well, I am a master procrastinator, if you weren't aware of that. So after 24 hours, it started going off again. I went down and pressed the button again. Dismissed it for 24 hours. So I do this for a few days. I mean, I've been here a few days. Last night, I get home, and it's beeping again. Well, because I'm a master procrastinator, I think, well, I'm going to go downstairs and press it again. I'll deal with it when I need to deal with it. It will not stop beeping. Will not. I tried holding it for 5 seconds. I tried holding it for 30 seconds. I tried unplugging it. I tried disconnecting the cables. I tried everything. It would not stop beeping. Not. I called my mom in tears because at this point, well, let me back up. So this particular battery, so it's a battery backup sump pump thing. So this particular battery has these little holes on the top with their, with a screw cap in them, where you have to apparently fill it up with distilled water, and it's it's this maintenance thing where you have to fill it up with water every so often. Well, I didn't know that. I've never even dealt with a sump pump, much less a sump pump backup battery. So I go. The person who lived here before had left the can that she was using to fill up the water, and she also left a bucket or a gallon of distilled water down there. Well, great. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's just the water needs to be filled up in the battery, because I've never heard of this. So I try to do that. I try to fill up the water. And I try to reset the battery. I mean, the alarm still beeping. And so finally I call somebody and I say, it's an emergency plumber. I'm like, what do I do? I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. And he's asking me, what my address is and all this other stuff. And then he goes, oh, he said, I'm so sorry, but you're really way out of our service area. And I said, okay, I appreciate it or whatever. And I said, is there anybody in this area you can recommend? And so he mentioned a name of a company, and then I said, all right, well, thank you very much. I'm trying to stay calm because I'm going crazy. This beeping is making me crazy. So I call this other company. Their answering service picks up and says that they don't do residential anymore. They only do business. So I'm like, all right, well, thank you. Hang up with them. Start to call another place that I found just, by Googling sump pump repair near you or whatever. And the guy from the original, the one that he said I was out of the service area, he calls me back. And he's trying to call while I'm waiting for the other line to pick up. So he hangs up, he calls again. And I answered the phone, and he said, I'm so sorry. He said, I was thinking about the situation, and he said, I realize that you're out of the service area, but he said, I feel so bad. He said, I can hear this thing beeping in the background, and he said, I know it's got to be making you crazy. He said, let me see what I can do to get somebody out. Well, at this point, I'm so relieved to hear that he's willing to do it. I'm just like, whatever it takes, get somebody out here to make this stop. And so this was at 8 o'clock at night. And so he explains to me how the plumbers in Chicago they're called journeyman plumbers. I don't really know what that means. I assume it's like a union. I don't know. But he said, you have to pay them a specific price to even leave their house. And so I was like, I don't care, just whatever, just send somebody, please. So we did that, and the guy came out. He got here, I want to say it was between like 9:15 and 9:30, because it's a long, from where they were to where I am. They were far north, and I'm kind of south, and so it probably took them. I mean, just to get through traffic and everything, it probably took him an hour for just that. So he gets here, and he's super nice, very, very sweet. He goes downstairs, and I told him, I said, just be prepared for me to cry, because at this point I'm losing it. And he goes, don't worry, that it wouldn't be the first time that somebody's cried. And I said, well, I imagine not, especially considering plumbing issues that you can have with flooding and everything else. So anyway. So he goes down and he checks it out, and he actually manages to get the stupid beeping to stop. How did you do that? But I don't know. But he looks at the thing. Basically what it came down to was the battery itself was messed up. There was something just wrong with the battery. And he told me, he said they have batteries that you don't have to maintain. And I said, well, sign me up for that now. I said, I can't even keep a plant alive, much less remember to water a battery. I mean, how often are you supposed to do it? I don't even know. So just get that thing out of here. Give me the battery thing. And then we start talking about the sump pump itself. and apparently the sump pump is old. And he said you should only do the sump pump for 3 years. If anybody out there is a plumber or knows about plumbing or sump pumps, let me know your thoughts on the whole sump pump situation, because I went ahead and got the new sump pump too. I mean, I don't know anything about it. The thing definitely looked old to me. The one that I bought has a 3-year warranty on it. The battery has a 3-year warranty on it. And, you know, I felt much better, and I slept, but I literally, I mean, this is sort of like a weird cliche saying, but I literally slept better last night knowing that that thing was replaced. So the procrastination still weighs on me. But yeah, so that has been my experience with stuff up to this point. Today, the reason I'm working from home today, like I said I would tell you, is number one, the guy was here till a little bit after 11 last night. And number two, the cable people are supposed to come and install my internet today, this afternoon. They actually had a 5 to 7 appointment available, which now I kind of think I'm going to maybe just try to get it earlier or something if they can. I mean, it's the day of, so I may not be able to, but anyway, so I was gonna leave work early anyway, and I thought, you know, I'm not gonna want to get up in the morning and after having a late night and stuff, because I didn't get to bed till 12:30 or so, because I have to deal with all the other things, and plus after all that excitement, you kind of need to wind down. But anyway, so I was just like, I'm not gonna be able to get to sleep right away, so I'm not gonna want to get up early. Plus, I have the cable coming, and I was gonna leave work early anyway. So that's why I'm working from home. That's why I'm in my jammy pants. That's why I have a hole in my shirt. And that's why I'm sitting here drinking coffee, talking to you right now. And I'm hoping that when I post this video, I'm posting it with my new internet installation, and I don't have to use a hotspot on my phone, which that's the other thing I forgot to tell you. I ran out of data on my phone too, because I've been using it for everything, and so I'm trying not to watch too many YouTube videos. I'll try to watch them, you know, every now and then when I get to Wi-Fi at work, I've watched a couple, but it's, you know, I ran out of data, so I'm getting charged for the data that I'm using now. All right, well, have a great day or a great night wherever you are, and I will absolutely talk to you on Sunday. Bye. Thank you for watching. Click here to subscribe, or click here to watch another video. I'll see you later, creepy popo.